One thing I've always loved about the Sims franchise is the small little details. Those little details that if you've been playing for years, maybe we've started taking them for granted a little bit too much, or maybe it's just one of those things that you've forgotten about, because a lot of Simmers forget about a lot of different things within The Sims. And yes, The Sims 4 even has some of those. So today I kind of wanted to focus on some of the forgotten features, or maybe just features that you haven't played with for a very long time when it comes to the worlds of The Sims 4. Now, what actually inspired this video was a comment on my last forgotten features where someone said the library in Willow Creek. So if you haven't replaced the library lot, and it is the same one that has been there since, you know, the game came out, you can start a new save to test this if you want to, if you have replaced that lot numerous times over in your current one. But the Willow Creek archive in the Crawdad Quarter actually has every single skill book available to your Sims. And now they are just level 1, you know, these are the books that you can use as an introduction to every single skill, no matter what packs you have, whatever packs you have, and whatever new skills were introduced in those said packs will be the skill books that are available to you. However, when I actually went to record the footage for this video and of course test it out just to make sure that I was getting the correct information, at some point the Sims team have updated this. I might have spoken about this in the past, I might have never spoken about it before because I didn't really realize that it was a thing. Every single library I tested up until like werewolves will have those skill books. If it is an EA build that is in the save, like part of the original, then they will have all level 1 skill books available to you. That goes for Strangerville, like I said, the one in Moonwood Mill. Unfortunately, this isn't the case for ones that you can usually find on the gallery, so if you have replaced a library build with one that you found on the gallery, you probably won't find these skill books. Next up, when it comes to supporting local, and specifically in Willow Creek, and there are also a couple of these available in Oasis Springs, there are some community gardens. Now, the ones in Willow Creek can be found next to the BFF household in Foundry Cove, and then towards the back of Umbridge Manor in Pendula View. These will have harvestables already growing in them. Obviously, you will have to play a few days to get those to actually like spawn in and have plants growing on them. Obviously, if you have the Sims 4 seasons, they are outside, so they can unfortunately be affected by the seasons and the weather, so they might not be growing. But if you look around Sims 4 worlds, you will usually be able to find some of the local vegetation, even if it's not in a specific garden. Sometimes they even have a little community gardener working on them, but I will say I haven't seen that very frequently recently. I feel like the longer you play a save, the more those kind of like little niche features actually start to die out, or they just break somewhere along in the game's code at some point and then you never see them again. Next, we're going to be talking about Windenburg, the biggest and probably one of the most detailed and definitely a fan favorite when it comes to Sims 4 players. It is wild to me how many people don't know that Emily is real. So Emily is kind of the Loch Ness monster of the Sims 4. She actually resides in Windenburg. One place you will find Emily is of course in the Windenburg snow globe that you can collect in City Living. There's also a poster that has a drawing of Emily, and that is included in The Sims 4 Strangerville. Obviously, that is kind of all about occults and believing in like myths and legends, and Emily is thought to be a myth. However, if you travel to the bluffs and you get lucky, you'll be able to look out into the water and see Emily swimming about. I actually had Greta head on over there. It was really late at night. It was 11 p.m. There wasn't a dance party going on or anything like that, and she actually managed to get a very blurry phone camera picture. Maybe your sim spots her, takes a little blurry photo, nobody believes them, so they start to invest more and more into spy equipment, better cameras, just to get a photo of Emily, the sea monster. Which, by the way, speaking of the bluffs, there is actually a hidden entrance to the bluffs. The bluffs and the Von Horn estate and the ancient ruins feel as if they were made to be secret lots. However, your Sims can obviously be invited to dance parties at all of these places, and you can actually access them all from the map. Loading into the Villarreal household is probably the easiest way you will find this, considering there is a little concealed entrance. It is just one of those little thorn bushes that you see in Granite Falls when you're heading deep into the woods. If you click on that entrance, it will actually directly take you to the bluffs. So if you do want to play it as more of a story instead of just traveling to the bluffs through map mode, you now can. And I have mentioned the Von Horn estate, but I was actually playing here the other day because I decided to do a cheeky little makeover of both Bernard and Mimsy, who are the two ghosts that reside in the Von Horn estate. We actually got a reference to Mimsy in the event before Life and Death. There's actually a burnt portrait of Mimsy. Unfortunately, these two did die in a fire. And there's also a reference to them in Life and Death on one of the tarot cards. I'm fairly sure they are the lovers, but whilst I was making that over, I actually explored the Von Horn estate a little bit. You've probably seen that there is a maze, and all you get for going through the maze is a cheeky woohoo bush, but also towards the back of their estate, there is a cute little place where you can actually have your Sims get married. It looks like very secluded. It's very much giving elopement. However, I have seen a lot of Simmers have actually removed some of the fences that exist in the Von Horn estate so that you can actually turn this into a wedding venue, and you can hire a caterer. They will cook in the kitchen if you remove those fences. There is also a little piano so you can have an entertainer play whilst you are getting married, but there's also a really nice painting spot that overlooks the gardens. So if you haven't explored the area around the Von Horn estate, I very much encourage you to. Now that you know what the entryway to the bluffs looks like, I guess you can also take this to Granite Falls, obviously the world that came with Outdoor Retreat. If you head to the Granite Falls forest, this is where you can find additional ingredients for herbalism, additional insects if you're working on that collection. I of course don't want to go through all of the collections in this video because this isn't a video about collections, it's just about little forgotten features of some of the worlds in The Sims 4. I'm not even mentioning like one for every single world, although I could do a video like that if you want to see more types of videos like this. But once you're in the Granite Falls forest, if you actually look for the waterfall and zoom out on the map, directly opposite the waterfall, there will kind of be this rocky area. If you're just focused on the kind of house museum-y bit that exists within the Granite Falls forest, it's gonna be towards the northwest of the map. So just head northwest using your camera, and then you'll see yet another thorny little cave that your sim can enter. You will get pop-ups. Honestly, I feel like I always mess this one up, but if you answer those questions correctly, it will actually take you to the hermit's house in the deep woods of Granite Falls. Here again, you can find even more insects. Some of the insects specifically only spawn in this part and also in the Granite Falls forest, so definitely if you're wanting to finish that collection, make sure you're exploring everything that Granite Falls has to offer. Whilst you're at the hermit's house, you can actually meet the hermit, you can interact with them. They used to have a tag that said hermit, although that feels like it may have been removed now, but there will always be a sim who kind of resides in that home, and they have a handiness bench. So you can work on your woodworking, your handiness skill. Once you get that to level 7, you can travel back to the main camping area of Granite Falls, and then the big camping mascot that's in the middle, which is the moose waving, you can click on that statue, and then you can learn the woodworking schematics, which actually unlocks a recipe under statues where you can now create your own mini replica. You can honestly make this for like 300 and something simoleons and sell it for 1,500. So, you know, if you've been working on that rags to riches using woodworking, that definitely could be a good little money maker for you. I guess keeping on the theme of using more natural resources, we're gonna move on to Sulani, the world that actually shipped with The Sims 4 Island Living. Probably one of the most overhated worlds, in my opinion. I feel like people just equate Sulani to Bad Mermaids, when actually I find it a really enjoyable world. It's one of the best for finding collections, and I think it is one of the most stunning areas that we have in the game. Now, the majority of what I'm going to focus on is in the Mua Pelham neighborhood of Sulani, which is the top right section of the island. You will know this if you watch my Nightmare Legacy challenge, because this is actually where majority of that took place. But if you travel to any one of these lots, you will come across a waterfall right in the very middle of this neighborhood, which you can actually use to catch frogs, and you can shower in there, and you can also woohoo in there. I think Sulani is probably one of the best worlds for starting any challenge with, because of the natural resources and the way that you can take care of your Sims, whilst also working on making the environment better, which I think is always a good thing. If you want the easiest spot to travel to the waterfall, just go to Admiral's Wreckage. Towards the right of Admiral's Wreckage, there is also a little cave system. Now, you can explore that cave. You can even find nomadic kelp in this cave. Mostly, your Sim will come out with little moodlets of what they've experienced, but the more that you explore the cave, the more that the mural towards the right of the cave entrance will actually start to fill out. It's just a neat little detail. I don't know if I've ever managed to complete the mural. Maybe I'll try and do it before my Nightmare Legacy challenge finishes. And then, of course, with Island Living, we did get introduced with the conservationist career. You can actually clean up the island in its totality, and that, of course, in turn helps the environment, brings more wildlife to Sulani, specifically Mua Pelham. You may get a notification that there is a turtle hatching event going on. You will notice balloons pop up, and then on the beach, little trails will be created, little fences, and you will actually see baby turtles running towards the sea. I will say this has definitely been glitched in my game. I get the notification and then I head to where it should be happening, and unfortunately there's never any event, but hopefully it is working for you. And then also by reaching conservationist level 10, you can unlock the albino dolphin, who is actually a little pink dolphin. It works the exact same way as all the other dolphins. You can name it, you can play with it, and you can start to build a relationship with it. But a really cool little feature that maybe a lot of you haven't experienced. Another feature that you might have missed in the waters of Sulani is actually seeing a shark. This is a very, very quick interaction, so blink and you'll literally miss it. But if your Sim is out in deep waters, there is a chance that an ominous sound will play and you'll see a single shark fin kind of circle your Sim. It's really, really quick, so I don't blame you if you've ever missed it. Some Sims will become tense. I think that is if you are a child of the ocean, but they'll say no harm will come to them, whereas other Sims will get scared from a shark sighting. Now, I've heard rumors, and I don't know if this is a myth. I have seen a few videos, but I've never actually managed to do this myself, and you pretty much need UI cheats for it. But some people have claimed that your Sims can be dragged under and they can actually die, and the Grim Reaper appears once this happens. I actually had a shark sighting. I kept my Sim in for like a full Sims week after that. Like I said, I had to use UI cheats to make sure that she wasn't drowning by feeling fatigued from her low tiredness need, and still she didn't get dragged under. If you've ever experienced it, I would love to know, but maybe that's gonna be a future video for my myth busting series. Then I guess maybe also adding on to your travels, you might decide to go visit San Myshuno or take a trip to Salvadorada. And there's actually one thing that these two worlds have in common in The Sims 4, and it's the fact that they have secret recipes. This is something that I've always wanted to do in my own gameplay, kind of a video where I try and unlock every single recipe that there is to unlock in The Sims 4, but specifically in San Myshuno and Salvadorada, you can actually visit the food stalls, and once you actually eat that food, you will unlock the recipes. San Myshuno, I think think has 20 something different recipes that you can learn. And of course, they are all different types of cuisine. So you're going to need to eat at multiple festivals. You're going to need to travel around the city to try and unlock all of those. However, in Salvadorada, to actually learn these secret recipes, you're going to need to work on your Salvadoradian culture skill. That goes up to level 5. If you go and order from one of the food stalls, you can order off the secret menu. And once you start ordering food in Salvadorada, also from the secret menu, again, if you eat it, your sim will actually learn those recipes. And finally, I know I haven't really focused on specific areas. There's definitely some areas of the worlds that I really enjoy that I don't often see people talking about. So maybe if you want to see a future video like this where we discover some of the areas that you maybe don't really interact with, but you can actually interact with in the Sims 4 worlds, definitely let me know. I've also not focused on the newer worlds too much because I really wanted this to focus on those forgotten features, maybe those packs that you've had in your game for years and years and you've never discovered these things about them. But I did want to mention one specific place in Copperdale because I feel like whenever I have my Sims go there, whenever I have my Sims interact with it, or even just like hang out there, people are like, where the heck is this? Like, I don't recognize that in any Sims 4 world. So if you head to Copperdale and then Plumbite Cove, which is the neighborhood that actually hosts the pier. The easiest way to find this is heading to the Price residence, and then if you head towards the back right of their lot, near where Kevin resides, in their kind of garage renovation, there's a little path that heads down to the stream, and then near the bridge, there's actually a plank of wood that your Sims can actually walk over to access this little hangout. I like to think that the teenagers of the Price household have set this up. There is just a little sofa there. There's not really anything else around it. There's not a campfire, there's not a cooler. There is what seems to be a makeshift den, but you can't actually interact with the den. However, you can have your teens actually hang out here. There are numerous items that you can actually drag into your inventory and then place them in the world whilst you are here, such as easels, some of the smaller speakers within the game, the dance mats, telescopes. You could take a cooler with you if you wanted to, a tent if you wanted to use it more as like a place where they're sleeping over. And it's just a nice little feature that feels really realistic that I never see anyone really talking about much. And whilst it's not the most interactive place, I do think it's cool that the Sims team were like, yeah, this feels realistic. This feels like an area that teens would kind of hang out with if they wanted to get away from their parents, if they maybe wanted to, you know, partake in some extracurricular activities that their parents wouldn't agree with. It seems like the perfect place to do it. And there we have it. That about wraps it up for all of the forgotten, or I guess secret features, or maybe just features that you personally feel are slightly underutilized in the Sims 4 worlds. I like making these types of videos to maybe encourage you to explore the worlds a little bit more. If you've been feeling a little bit run down with The Sims, you've not really been feeling the inspiration, maybe reminding you or introducing you to some of these areas or things that you can do might actually get you in the mood to play this game and kind of inspire a storyline or two. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, if you want to see any more videos like this, maybe some of my favorite places within the worlds that I feel I don't really see people talk about a lot, that you wouldn't really expect to be interactable, but your Sims can actually go to and like hang out in, or maybe just like really nice picture spots. I know that the bridge in Salvadorada, once you're in the jungle, is one of my absolute go-tos. It is one of my favorite places to have my Sims propose. Definitely let me know if you want to see any more videos like that. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.